welcome back, and hello again. This is the A2A Bonanza. Now I did a first look on this aircraft only recently, and if you haven't checked out that video yet, I do recommend that you go and have a look at that. In this video it's more of a follow-up, so since that video, the first look video that I did earlier, I've flown this aircraft to another location. So we are currently at the Darrington Municipal Airport, 1S2. Quite a scenic little location we're in. And my intention today was to do a few touch and goes and just get to grips with the aircraft a little bit more. I've only got probably a few hours of flight time under my belt with this aircraft so far. Not many landings, not many takeoffs, so I thought a few touch and goes today wouldn't go astray at all. But unfortunately, I've noticed that there's some gremlins creeping up on the aircraft more so than ever. The ailerons are giving me more trouble, and we'll see that in just a second as well. So I do not want to fly in its current state, and the the oil temp gauges as well, or gauge is not playing nice at the moment either. So what I'm going to do is just move the aircraft to the hangar, and we'll take a look. Just want to quickly mention as well, whilst I'm here up front in front of the aircraft, if we have a look at the oil, there's a few hours of flight time on this oil since I've flown it, and obviously I did acquire this plane recently in a used condition in the simulation, so the oil could really use a change, I think. So what I'm doing right now is just removing the tie downs and the pitot tube cover and whatnot, and just quickly inspecting the aileron linkages, just to see if there's anything obvious there that I can see with the linkages themselves. All the bolts actually look okay, so not too sure what's going on, but I'm going to hop inside shortly and just show you guys and gals what's going on with the ailerons themselves. So you can see here that when I apply left aileron, you get the nice little thud, so it's got full range. But right hand movement, I'm moving my yoke all the way to the right, I'm not getting as much movement there. So this is quite a dangerous condition, and you can see why I do not want to fly like this. You get a nice satisfying thud when rolling left, but not so much rolling right. So let's get the plane started up and taxi over to the hangar, and we'll get our resident mechanic here at Darrington to take a look. Now it's a pretty cold day here in Darrington. It's only about 6 degrees, I think, Celsius. So here I'm just showing you the oil temperature gauge. You can see that that is clearly telling us some porkies there. It's indicating too high. All the other gauges here appear to be okay. It's just the oil temp you'll see there. This plane has been sitting for a little while, so there is no way that the oil temp is that high. Okay, so just going to swing it around in front of the hangar here. We'll shut down, and we'll jump into the hangar. Okay, so you can see obviously there's quite a few hours on the aircraft. Let's go ahead and inspect the aircraft and see what the mechanic has to tell us. Okay, so actually there's a new item on here now. It's telling us that the right hand flap parts are wearing out, so be careful. Spark plug's little failed, that's fine. I can clear them out ourselves. Oil temp gauge is reading a little bit high. Yep, so that's what we want to address today. Yeah, also the airspeed gauge as well. If you remember, if you did watch my previous video, my first look on this aircraft, you would have seen that the airspeed gauge was actually completely failed at one point. And here we go, the left aileron hinge is binding. Funny how it's actually showing the right hand aileron as being worn out there in the graphic, but the clipboard says left, so that might just be a typo, not sure. But you can see there that the left aileron hinge, in the graphical view there, it's showing in red, so that's a severe issue that we need to address. So we'll do that today whilst we're in the hangar. Let's just flip open the engine cover and have a look under the hood. I will change the oil as I mentioned just earlier. So we've got two choices here, two options for oil. We've got our multi-weight oil as well as the old-fashioned straight weight oil as well. Not probably gonna do the straight weight. I think I'll go the multi-weight, just because I'm gonna be flying in all sorts of different conditions, and I think I'll go with the 2050, I think. So there's different weights of oil that will affect your oil pressure and viscosity and whatnot. So I'm just going to go middle ground here, and I think that will give us a pretty good performance from the aircraft. Not going to touch the spark plugs there. Everything else checks out fine under the hood. Good compression. All the components are in green, starter and whatnot. So I'm not going to touch those. Okay, let's go ahead and repair the aileron. Okay, done. So that's out of the picture now. Very good. The right hand flap, I'm going to leave that be for the time being. I hope that doesn't come back to bite me later. Okay, let's have a look at the instruments. Now we can see there the oil temp gauge is showing in yellow, so we definitely want to address that. And also the airspeed indicator, as well as we can see here, is also not looking healthy either. That could fail at any time, and I certainly don't want that to happen whilst I'm in the middle of a flight or doing some touch and goes even. Okay, so the oil temp is showing in yellow, so it's wearing out. The airspeed, we'll go ahead and fix that completely. Done. And the oil temp gauge as well. Go ahead and sort that out. So these gauge physics and gauge wearing out and damage is only introduced as part of the Bonanza in the A2A AccuSim suite. So yeah, so at the moment we've got the right hand flap and the spark plugs which need attention. Spark plugs are a little fouled. We can address that ourselves in just a second. I'll show you how to do that if you're not sure. Now you'll see here that there's the curtains, like we've already got them fitted, and the tip tanks. Now a bit of a dilemma. I kind of do want to fit these things. They're going to give us increased range. They're going to affect the flight dynamics a little bit. I think for now I'm not going to install the fuel tip tanks. We'll go without for a little bit longer and see how we go in the next flight anyway. Okay, so our oil temp gauge now, you can see there it's actually showing 0 or close to 0, if not 0, which is more correct. So mechanics done his job there. Okay, actually that's, now that I've turned the battery on, yeah, you can see that the oil temp gauge actually is showing a lower reading. So before it was like 3/4 across. So let's go ahead and get this thing started up anyway. And what we're going to do today for the rest of this video, for the rest of this episode I guess, is do a few touch and goes and just see if we can sort of clean up and get to grips with this little beast a little bit more. Okay, so now that the ailerons have been addressed, we can see that we've got full range of motion on left and right. Perfect. And we can see the V-tail linkages and mechanism is working great as well. So we're ready to go pretty much. Let's take this little Dr. Killer up into the sky. Okay, so we've got oil pressure coming up. Just going to lean out a little bit so that we don't foul the plugs any more than they already are. We've got some fouling going on, but we'll address that in just a sec. Fuel's looking good. I've got the left tank selected, so I think it's the left tank anyway. Okay, we've announced our taxi. Just going to taxi out to the runway 28. Door is secure. Just run through the checklist here. I'm not going to bore you all. I'm not going to go through every single detail of what I'm doing. You can watch the first look video that I made previously for a little bit more detail in this regard. I'm just going through the pilot notes here just quickly whilst I taxi to ensure that everything is set. So just bear with me while I do that. As always, if there's any questions or comments, please do leave them below in this video. Okay, brakes check out fine. Let's get rolling again. Yeah, so this plane is known as the Doctor Killer, so the VTOL configuration there is certainly something to get used to. It's not a plane for a newbie, I guess, and I'm not a real-life pilot, for those of you who are wondering, but I've got quite a few hours under my belt as a sim pilot, and even so, even then, it's this plane has really proved to be a great learning experience for me. Okay, so just lining up here, just short of the runway, going to button up everything in the cabin, and we're going to perform our run up now. So around 1700 RPM, and we'll see if we can't sort. Oh, it's a bit weak there, just reaching the mixture. See if we can't sort out our spark plug fouling issue. So 1700 RPM, full rich. Let's switch to the left mag, and we can see there. Oh, there we go. So the right hand mag, see that? Look at the RPM, the tachometer there is just going all over the place on the right mag. So clearly the right mag has an issue. Oops. So back to both. And the way to clear this up is basically to rev up the engine a little bit more. Well, this is the way I do it anyway. So around 2000 RPM or so, and start to lean out fairly aggressively. Let's just open the cowl flap fully so that we don't cook the engine. Okay, so 2000 RPM, full rich, and start to lean out. Lean, 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 until the engine starts to falter. This will actually start to burn off the carbon, excess carbon from the affected spark plugs. So back to full rich, and let's do it again. Start to lean aggressively. I've got the propeller in full fine, and I've got the throttle at about 2000 RPM, so I'm not touching any of those controls. I'm just leaning the engine now. Okay, so back to full rich, and reduce the throttle back to 1700, and let's take another look at the mag. So left and right, look at that, perfect. Hardly any RPM drop there between the two mags, pretty much nothing, and back to both. So that's pretty much how you clear out the spark plugs there. All gauges looking good, so let's go ahead and call the tower, or at least announce our takeoff. Just going to quickly do a prop cycle actually. Okay, I think we're good, so go ahead and announce our takeoff.
102 traffic, beach, November 22 deep, Quebec, taking off, runway 2 deep, touch and go, left traffic.
Okay, so controls free. Got appropriate tank selected, propeller, full fine. Let's just adjust the flaps a little bit. Mixture full rich. Okay, everything closed and secured. Let's go ahead and do a few touch and goes. I'm going to turn the fuel pump on for this. I'm not really sure. The checklist, I believe, calls for fuel pump off, but I'm going to keep the fuel pump on for the takeoffs and landings, just for a bit of extra security there. Okay, so runway 28 looking clear on the right and the left. Let's go ahead and begin our takeoff roll. Just quickly go through some notes here, make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, see, there's nothing even on the approach landing. It says there Gump. I believe they're talking about the fuel pump, and it just says check. So anyway, I'll keep it on. And here we go. So brakes off and full throttle. 10 degrees of flaps just to give us a bit of extra lift. Try and keep it steady down the runway. And watch the airspeed. And rotate. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just a few circuits here. A few little touch and goes. I can't guarantee I'm going to do perfect touch and goes, ladies and gentlemen, so please forgive me if I'm terrible on the first few. Hopefully I should start getting better as we go. Okay, so gear up. I'll keep the flaps at 10 degrees and see if I can do at least the first few touchdowns at 10 degrees as well. I might need full flaps later. Might be better. We'll see how we go. And just to mention, we do have a bit of wind today in the simulation, so winds are gusting up to 16 knots. So again, I'll do my best to try and keep this thing tamed. And yeah, we look to be going okay so far. It's not too bad up here. So there's our airfield there on the left. Going to come around, hook a left, and begin our final for touch and go. There's quite a lot of trees and elevation around this region, so it does make doing these little touch and goes quite a challenge as well. Alright, but I'll try and keep my mouth shut for most of this and let you guys enjoy the sights and the sounds of this beautiful Bonanza simulation. Enjoy. Check in with you soon. Okay folks, so I'm just going to call final now.
102, traffic beach, November 22 deep, Quebec is on final, runway 2 deep to land.
Hope you all enjoyed those touch and goes that I did. Not too many, just a bit of practice anyway. Just mindful of my right hand flap. I really should have repaired that earlier. But in any case, I think that went rather well. You would have noticed there, using full flaps certainly tidied up the airplane, made it a lot more controllable, particularly at low speed, and it avoided that yaw upon takeoff as well. Whoa, this bird's awfully close there. So yeah, using full flaps is definitely probably, well, more than 10 degrees at least on your touchdowns is definitely recommended from what I can see at least. So coming in for our final here with full flaps, see if we can't grease this one. That wasn't so bad. I think I'm getting better. Okay, so just putting the brakes on now. We've got lots of room, so nice and easy on the brakes. And we'll exit here to the left. Okay, keep the RPMs up. Runway vacated.
102, traffic beach, November 22 deep, Quebec, runway vacated.
Some beautiful scenery around here. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. Let me know if you'd like to see more of the Bonanza. I think I'm finally getting to grips with this aircraft. Maybe in a future video I'll do I'll cover some of the emergency procedures with this airplane. You can see here that the gauges are all showing fine, which is great. No problems at all during those touch and goes. The aircraft has been behaving very well indeed. So let's get ready to park. Okay, so just leaving the taxiway now and entering the parking area. I'm probably not going to spend too much more time at this airfield. I will probably leave shortly after this, so look out for another video at another airfield soon. So let me know if you guys want to see anything different with this airplane. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and shut everything down. And park for yet another day. So thanks for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe if you haven't already, if you like this type of content and would like to see more. But for now, I bid you all farewell until next time. Cheers.